Hello and welcome back to Sparks by PRCA. In this series, we'll shine a light on the incredible expertise behind some of our wonderful trainers at the PRCA. Each episode is packed with insights and practical advice from the people who help shape the future of PR and communications. I'm Souha Khairallah, the Talent and Development Director at PRCA, your host for today, and this time around we have another one of our wonderful trainers, Betsy Reed. Betsy Reed is a leadership and sustainability advisor, trainer, author, and speaker. She has spent the entirety of her career focused on social and environmental issues, following a background spent in activism and community organizing in her native US. Betsy brings all of this expertise to create and deliver trainings that are holistic, well-structured, interactive, and practical. Her expertise is in teaching leaders and leadership teams on issues ranging from ESG to diversity and inclusion, well-being to purpose-driven culture and innovation. It's an absolute pleasure to have her on the show today to share her journey and tips. Welcome, Betsy. It's so good to have you here today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. It's always a lovely, lovely day when I get to spend it with the good people from the PRCA.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So, Betsy, let's start by talking a bit about your journey. Could you tell us about what inspired you to become a trainer with PRCA and how your experiences led to you to where you are today?
I love that question. So
Thank you.
I have always been driven by having a positive impact on the world, even since I was a small child. And I also had the privilege of growing up watching a father who was a teacher for 45 years,
Oh,
who used to
wow.
say, you're either a teacher or you're not. So watching him just be
Okay.
passionate about investing in others and investing in their own learning and their own ability to bring their own impact to the world.
Yeah.
And so those things always came together for me. And so I've always had some element of awareness raising or learning and development or training and teaching in pretty much all of my career for the past 20 something years. And
Wow.
it's a beautiful way to get to deliver that in the world by doing PRCA trainings in particular. So it helps me to fulfill my mission in the world.
Oh, I love that. And actually, I can feel your enthusiasm when you talk about it. I can feel your enthusiasm in the classroom. I've seen you teach delegates. So, yeah, love it.
Hmm.
Speaking of your career, what's the most memorable project or campaign that you've worked on? And why does it continue to resonate with you?
Well, I want this to change someday because it was early in my career and I would love for something to preempt or like overtake it because when I was fairly young, I was 27, I was hired to set up the National Fair Trade Organization in Scotland.
Oh, that's incredible.
It was incredible and it was such an opportunity to work with a huge range of stakeholders. I had monthly ministerial meetings with the government minister who was funding the campaign, and I worked with all the universities in Scotland and all the local authorities and all the grassroots campaigners.
Wow.
And to this day, it remains one of my proudest and favorite roles because I got to interact with all elements of society. We call them complex stakeholder ecosystems, but it was about helping people to really be empowered to make better choices that had a better impact. So, like, I think one of my proudest moments within all of that was within the first 18 months of running what was Scotland's national fair trade campaign to become the world's second fair trade nation. Wales beat us to it. Good job, Wales. Was I commissioned a poll to find out if people had heard about the campaign and if they knew more about fair trade, which is paying a fair price for the products that you buy,
Yeah.
like coffee, chocolate, but even clothing. And 25% of Scotland's population, which is well over a million, had heard of the campaign, and many people were changing how they shopped as a result. And so
Incredible.
that was a really proud moment for me because it meant actually it was having an impact on people
Yeah.
who, were in other parts of the world that a lot of Scots had never visited. And that just really fueled my desire to use communications and influencing
Yes.
and
Yeah.
relationships to have a positive impact.
Incredible. Yeah, I love it. Love it. Love it. And also, to be honest, it's so nice to have stories that you can share during the training. I think it makes such a difference when you have got real life expertise, and that's what makes it so different. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. I feel all happy getting to talk about that today.
And finally, for our listeners who might be considering attending one of your courses, can you highlight three takeaways they'll be able to apply immediately after completing your training?
Well, I do the introduction to ESG training as well as a
Yes.
module of the PRCA leadership training. And my module in that is called Leadership in an ESG World. And for anybody who doesn't know what ESG is, it simply stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance. So governance, sorry. And it's really a lens these days that is mostly about compliance with regulation, reporting on environmental and social impact, and then governance is how you ensure you do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
So it's a real, I'd say it's a buzzword, but it's also a useful lens because a lot of businesses are increasingly required to report on their impact. And so what I always weave into all of my trainings is you come away with something you can actually use right away if you need to. But right now is particularly important for these themes because the EU has introduced the Green Claims Directive. And this will be ratified and embedded nationally by all EU member states by 2027, which matters no matter where you are. So it's gonna impact thousands and thousands of businesses who are not based in the EU because it essentially makes greenwashing, making claims about environmental impact that you can't back up, illegal. So
that's huge.
It's huge, and especially for communicators, because we could be the problem. And actually, it could be very costly to reputation, but also it could result in fines. If you're saying something is, for instance, eco-friendly, you're not going to be able to use that term anymore with any business that operates in the EU by 2027. So that is coming very quickly.
Very quickly indeed. Yep.
Yeah. So people will have a lens to de-risk any approach that they're about to take to make sure that they aren't falling foul of that directive, but also they'll come away with some resources that can help them continue to learn as this develops because all of these issues are so complex and they're quickly moving targets. So people come away with tools and knowledge to keep themselves learning about these things that are always changing.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that from what I've seen so far of your sessions, they've always been very practical. I think it's important to say that also it makes it achievable for people. So I think it's important for people to know that they can attend the session, not to be afraid, not to be scared. And it's always all about learning and taking things away. And it's a very safe environment.
It is, yeah.
That it's very important, especially with a course like that, to feel that.
Oh, definitely. And it can just be so dry that one of the things I love doing is some of the issues we talk about are, equality and diversity and climate change, and they can feel so heavy. So one of my values that I bring to all of my trainings is fun, because
I know that you do that 100%.
We have fun, and it doesn't take away from the seriousness or the impact of what you get from the training. But I find people learn better when they're having fun.
That's so true. So, so true. Well, thank you so much, Betsy, for giving us a glimpse into your incredible career and such practical advice. It's been a real privilege to hear from you today. And to our listeners, if you're feeling inspired and want to sharpen your skills, check out the full range of PRCA training courses on our website. You can find the link on the podcast notes. You'll find Betsy's courses and many others designed to take your career to the next level. And you can also bring any of her sessions in-house for the whole team. That's all for today's episode. Join us next time for another insights and expertise session. Goodbye for now, everyone. Thank you.